There it is.
I don't hear the music, Kevin.
Yeah. Oh God. Hey everybody, welcome. Yes, it is the Friday news lunch for the Bucks County Beacon. It is always, literally always something, everyone. Always something. I swear. This is Kevin Mahoney. Each week, we'll serve up the week's top stories affecting our communities and the nation. Well, this week it's time for another power lunch. Yes, it's a whole streak of them we got going here, everybody. Yes, I'm joined by Emily Smith, the owner and publisher of the Beacon. Not only will we be serving up this week's top stories affecting our community and the nation, but we'll also take a look behind the scenes a bit. What's happening at the Beacon, what's coming up, and what you need to keep your eyes on. We'll hope you'll join us live every Friday at noon right here on YouTube. You can join our live chat during the show. Bring some friends along too as well. Say hi, right? We love when people come and say hi. It's so awesome. Look, we're going to need independent, community supported progressive media in the weeks, months, and years ahead if that is not glaringly obvious. There could not be a better time to take a moment. Head on over to buckscountybeacon.com, click the support the Beacon button, become a supporter. You can become a monthly entry level supporter for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month, folks. It's incredible. Right? You could be a regular supporter for just $5 a month or a yearly supporter for as little as $50 a year. If you just got a bunch of cash in your pocket looking for something to do, well, you can drop a one-time donation to help keep the Beacon's critical lens focused and sustainable right there at thebuckscountybeacon.com. Just click the support the Beacon button, become a supporter today. Let's check out, see what we got on this week's menu. Oh, wait, nothing happened this week again. How about that? Yes, well, China's President Xi says that China is not in negotiations with the Trump administration, despite Trump's continued claims that he's talking with Xi and working on a deal. Because, of course, we know he is. Guy talks to himself, is what he does. In a news conference earlier today, the spokesperson for China's foreign ministry said, quote, China and the U.S. have not held consultations or negotiations on the issue of tariffs. The United States should not confuse the public. Thank you. China? Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The Trump administration now, well, we just learned this, is cutting funding for 2 scientific journals supported by the CDC. And now Trump's federal prosecutor, Edward Martin Jr., sent letters to multiple journal editors asserting the publications are, quote, partisan in various scientific debates, like insistence upon factual representation of the results of the scientific study, perhaps? I don't know. Well, they're demanding that the editors answer questions about their supposed advocacy for scientific results that the Trump's people don't like. The American Prospect reports that the Justice Department is planning to dissolve its Consumer Protection Branch as part of the Civil Division that prosecutes cases involving tobacco marketing, fraud against seniors and service members, and entities involved in the opioid crisis. Yeah, those people, DEI, right? DEI. Swear to God, it's the gutting. But, in a little bit of good news, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is embroiled in an emerging controversy about the misuse of Medicaid dollars to secretly fund political committee campaigning against an amendment to legalize recreational marijuana in the state, an amendment which ended up failing. The money was channeled through dark money groups through his wife's nonprofit in order to fund the PAC. How about that? They're saying, there's no harm, no foul. What are you talking about? We didn't do this. It's great. Something like $10 million. Crazy. And Pope Francis died early Monday morning from a massive stroke following a long illness. His death followed the meeting with J.D. Vance. Sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face. I'm sorry. I just couldn't pull it off. And despite speculations that Vance may be the Antichrist or in league with demonic forces, doctors have failed to find any supernatural connection. I wanted to pull it off so bad. Yeah. Oh, God. Pope Francis's funeral takes place tomorrow at 10 local time in the Vatican. For those who are paying attention to that. And what's happened in the Beacon? Well, a whole lot, let me tell you. This week, incredible, Bucks County Beacon editor Cyril Michaleko broke a huge story about Bucks County Sheriff Fred Haran's application to participate in ICE's 287G task force model. Basically, what that does, it makes local law enforcement officers de facto ICE agents. The task force model allows local police to stop people on the street and question them about their immigration status. Heron told the Beacon that 30 of his deputies have already jumped at the opportunity to join up as mini ICE agents. I mean, this is nuts. This is nuts. I am so glad to hear he had he had all sorts of outpouring now. Other outlets have also still picked up the story. And if anybody's looking, if you notice that other reporters are not crediting the Beacon for breaking the story, you know what? Great idea. Just give a little email. Let them know. Our little local gem here in Bucks County is the one who broke that story. Got my back up a little bit on that. And Melissa Rizzo reports on the impact of the Trump administration's proposed elimination of the Head Start program, which provides comprehensive early childhood education, health, nutrition, and parental involvement services to low-income children and families. In Bucks County, the Bucks County Intermediate Unit, the BCIU, administers Head Start funds. The BCIU currently serves about 362 children and families through the program. And the U.S. Justice Department is dropping its lawsuit against Hazleton, PA. They dropped it on Tuesday. The city was being sued for illegally diluting the political power representations of the city's large Hispanic population. Right? Just one more of the latest examples of the Trump administration turning its back on voting rights and actively working against voting rights. Also this week, a federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from banning diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in K-12 public schools. We'll see how long that lasts. The National Education Association and the ACLU joined forces and argued in their lawsuit that the Trump administration was violating teachers' due process and First Amendment rights. And the Beacon released a special Earth Day edition of The Signal this week. The podcast features Cyril's interview with Ben Price from CELDEF, the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. Had a fascinating discussion about Price's work on the rights of nature. And we learned, and by we, I mean I was like, this was so awesome. But anybody who listened to this learned that Tamaqua, PA was the first municipality in the world to grant legal rights to the natural environment. It was incredible. It was followed by 2 years later, I believe it was, by Ecuador installing rights of nature into its constitution. Incredible. Tamaqua, PA was the first. And we're going to talk get a little update on the Bucks County Voter Guide, which is one of the most awesome voter guides that exist. I was going to say on the planet, but we'll stick to the East Coast. How about that? Oh, God, but here we are. Welcome to the show, Emily. How's it going?
Good. Yeah.
So I understand you had lots of kind of, good rest and you're kind of like all up and going, nice, slow, relaxing morning. So we're glad to have you.
Yep. I was ever so busy codifying borough code for my local municipality as a member of borough council. So yes.
Gotta love it.
Planning
Gotta love it.
zoning.
Yeah, gotta love it. But it's kind of the necessary work. This is kind of municipal, government right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's something that people don't know that any of that stuff exists. And then you read it and you go, shoot, I'm not allowed to dance.
What's this? Footloose? What am I, Kevin Bacon?
We literally discussed Footloose this morning.
Did you really?
Meeting.
That's great. Hey, who's that out there by the train tracks?
Simultaneously, we discussed belly dancing because
there you go.
We have a Lebanese restaurant downtown that is delicious. Shout out Cedars in Camp Hill. And they have belly dancing on some Fridays and some Saturday nights. And I think technically this dance hall prohibition that we had on the books, I don't think they're allowed to have
Well,
it.
You got to protect the community against the belly dancers. There might be a different kind of cultural influence that gets steeped in there that causes problems. So
yeah, I mean, just as a note for this dance hall thing, most of this stuff is covered by zoning, so we're getting rid of it. But there's like a zoning ordinance and a code. Borough code, and then there's zoning, and those two things work next to each other, but they're not the same. So sometimes zoning can cover things. Yeah, it's apparently was there to keep people from having gentlemen's clubs. That's apparently what it was trying to prevent.
Ah,
That's why they used to have these dance hall prohibitions, because it was a commercial enterprise that charged a fee, and then people were dancing there.
dancing. I see. So this wasn't the kind of like the sock hop palace they were worried about then.
I thought they were worried about sock hop palaces, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what about prom?
Right,
Because
exactly.
you charge money and then you dance.
No dancing at prom. It was just a whole lot of swaying. Swaying is okay.
Right. From far away.
But the dancing, absolutely not. Absolutely
Yeah.
not. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
crazy.
So highly entertaining morning for myself already.
Oh, well,
Oh,
good.
one more from it, because
Oh,
this
please.
is just, there's a aircraft ordinance. Flights can't take off or land from our borough unless it's an emergency. Except there is a provision for mythical animals or people for generally accepted folklore are allowed could be allowed to fly into town, say Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. It literally named Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. If they had 10 days prior asked for permission from the mayor and said who was responsible for the mythical creature or person.
Are you kidding me? That is unreal. I just hope, okay, here's in my heart of hearts, what I really hope is I hope when they wrote that code, they had so much fun with it and it brought nothing but joy. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just going to try to give that the best reading possible, that was like a moment in code writing that they just started getting silly, maybe a little eggnog being passed around on the table there.
Our zoning officer was like, I feel like one of them had their child with them when they were writing the code. And they're like, but what about Santa?
Yep.
Santa needs to be able to fly in.
Right. Exactly. Santa's going to have to walk from the town's edge. What? Amy says fairy flights, Hogwarts style. What?
Mythical creatures.
Awesome. Well, good thing for the Pegasus is going to probably get in there. The flying monkeys from Wizard of Oz. Now, you might want to actually have a little kind of clause in there preventing them from entering that space, but I don't know.
Right. Well, you have to get permission from the mayor 10 days prior.
There you go. Well, that okay. All right, good. I'm glad that they thought through that. That's good.
Yeah. So only certain mythical creatures.
Okay, now I don't want to go too far down this one, but like, does the mythical creature have to appear before some sort of office themselves in order to issue, or can they send a representative? Is the question.
It said the person responsible
so
for the mythical creature.
Okay, so it could be a helper, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, my dog is a mythical creature who's barking along with us.
Exactly. And here's the problem with you trying to get rid of that ordinance right there. See that?
Yeah.
There you go.
She was worried.
Oh, God. Well, great. Again, everything going on at the national level continues on its course of destruction and lies. That's for sure. One thing I don't think I mentioned at the top of the show, I just came across this morning, and it was that Trump issued an executive order to start mining the ocean floor for rare earth minerals outside of U.S. waters. And it's like, that is not going to kind of break the top line of the headlines of what goes on, but nonetheless hugely significant. And apparently this is, part of the strategy of the Trump administration to become a leader in kind of rare earth mineral mining, but they're doing it in international waters, which is a violation of international law. They haven't done it yet, but they're basically saying, go do it. And, I've gotta see, there's got to be dollar signs that are being seen in terms of that. Oh, whoever's doing these mining contracts, like that's what I'm really gonna love to see, is like, who are the ones who are going to get these contracts if they go forward, and what's the international community going to do? You're talking about basically doing deep sea mining of, I tried not to go down too far down this hole, but there's these like little kind of like balls of like concentrated rare earth minerals that they think are likely candidates for good for mining that they're going to go try to get. I mean, just the disruption that will happen on the kind of ocean floor and like and some sort of free for all is just actually crazy. But that's kind of what we're getting right now.
Yeah, well, it's that whole FAFO thing, like he's just like, let's do it, and then wait for someone to tell him he can't. And then when he
Exactly.
can't, then he'll be like, I'll just find a company to do it.
Oh,
And
totally.
then he'll have some kind of financial interest in it.
Yep. Yep. 100%.
Mm,
100%. And then so they'll get in the business of issuing permitting permits for cash, as opposed to
mm,
that. And I was
yeah.
listening to this whole other thing yesterday, and this other show about, again, I didn't put this in the notes, but like about there's more and more reporting coming out about all the Trump coins and things like this, and
Oh,
his association with crypto.
I
It's
read
like,
about it.
oh my God, it's so disturbing.
And then he hosted his top 20 investors in his
Yep.
Trump meme coin at the White House.
Yep. Literally, and like the crazy thing, right? The literally announces that he's going to meet with all these big investors after he releases the coin,
Yeah.
forcing the price up, then meets with investors. It goes through the roof, right, in terms of its price, right? And then, like every other like crypto scam, then it drops off. It is a pump and dump scheme to make short term money,
Yeah.
right? And they don't know
Yeah.
how much he walked away with, but they think it's in like the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars just from that one day scam.
Yeah, what's it called? Emoluments clause? Is that what it's called? Where he makes money?
That's fake news, Emily. That's fake news.
Yeah.
That's yeah, the Constitution fiction doesn't actually exist. Well, it's crazy,
Yeah.
unless when they want it to.
It
That's
prohibits anyone holding a U.S. office of profit or trust from accepting titles, emoluments, or offices from foreign states without congressional consent.
yep.
It aims to ensure public officials prioritize American interests. Yeah. Dumb.
Dumb.
Come on,
Just
Trump.
absolute. Yeah. I mean, dumb and I mean, there you go. I mean, you have the question. I love the fact that we're still in these newspaper cycles right now, where you get some of the mainstream media still like asking, "Oh, have we kind of moved into an authoritarian kind of thing? Has there been a violation of the Constitution yet?" I'm like, "Are
Yes.
you kidding me?"
Yes.
It's like, have we crossed this threshold? Like, what the hell? I mean, I don't know what threshold you're talking about because it's behind you, right?
Yeah.
It's like wherever you're looking out there on your horizon, it's in your rear view mirror and you missed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for
But
sure. I started reading a book last night, American Nero. It's from like, I don't know,
uh,
7 or 8 years ago, maybe. It's compares Trump with Nero and George III.
hmm.
I didn't get that far in, but it was all about the warning signs, and it was like all the stuff from like Trump did in 2017, and
Right,
like,
right, right.
and he's like, yeah, it's already, you can already see the authoritarianism creeping in. And then I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for the update on this book.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
It had a
Well,
list, and I was like, oh, I forgot about those things. That
right.
seemed so bad then, and now it seems like nothing,
Yep.
you know?
Hmm. And that's the whole point, right? And it's interesting too. I was listening to I wish I could tell you what it was, but it was like, I don't know, it was either New York Times or some other podcast when I was driving home, maybe just the news on NPR or something. But they kept on trying to decide, is this like, is this, this is more like oh no, I know what it was. It was some dude getting interviewed on Chris Hayes's show, and talking about how this is kind of sliding towards one more step and it could get closer to Putin. It's like Putin's Russia, or it could be like Xi in China. And I'm just like, why don't you go to like Hungarian Orban? Why don't you go
Right.
him? Why don't you go him? Because we're there already,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this is like what you further they keep on pushing off what an authoritarian regime would look like to keep it kicking it down the road when we've got actual models that are right here that we are mirroring right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the worst part is that, like, when you talk about Russia and stuff like that, it's like all about the oligarchs and
Yeah.
everything. And do we have this quasi oligarchy of tech billionaires? But I don't think that they're actually aligned with Trump, but it doesn't matter because they're mega capitalists, right? So as long as the regulations work for them, they don't really care about a lot of the stuff. And I think that's what's sad.
Yeah, and I think it's almost like this. It's a different relationship. Like I can't tell you how many
Mhm.
times I've said this. Like it's not the same thing. I said yes, they're oligarchs, but it's oligarch in a different way, right?
Yeah,
In Russia, right? Everything goes through Putin, right?
yeah,
In Russia, and like the oligarchs owe any wealth that they have to Putin. Here,
right.
it's the other way around,
Yeah,
right? It's like as long as these folks can kind of rule and get what they want, they'll happy to kind of either look the other way with Trump or to
yeah,
feed his campaign. I mean, it's the complete other. He is the dude with the pen, right?
right.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a different sort of situation.
Yeah, and I just
Doesn't make
wish.
it better, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Unless our tech billionaires all of a sudden got a conscience and,
yeah.
we're like, screw Trump.
No, no, and I think that there's been there was a great piece with I think it was Naomi Klein and Astra Taylor kind of put out this piece, and they're God, I'm gonna lose the word that they were using for it, but basically it's something like end of times capitalism type of thing. It's not the
Yeah,
word exactly they used, but it was a really good kind of way of conceptualizing a lot of the way that those folks think. Right, is that they're just all convinced that things are going to collapse. It's just, and
yeah,
some of them have like really crazy like, hey, we'll colonize Mars, right? That kind of stuff. On other ones you have Peter Thiel talking about how we're going to have these kind of network societies, and all of that is kind of all nonsense for the vast majority of us, but it tells you where they're thinking about it. They've already given
yeah.
up, right, on any kind of
Mhm.
consumption of kind of supporting liberal democracy. So
Right.
it's like they're all in for like, okay, yeah, just let it collapse, and so they're going to be focused on just getting theirs, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is if only our government actually worked,
I
but
know.
like this is why there are these anti-monopoly hearings and everything going on with Zuckerberg and Google and whatever is because they've consolidated power, right? And they're
That's
not
right.
just the biggest American companies, they're the biggest companies in the world pretty much.
Yep.
So um once they have enough power, it's like the steel barons and the train barons of like the late 1800s. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which that wealth is still around today that's been, kept certain families in power and rich and not having to worry about laws, regulations, regular people for like 150 years, you know.
No, I think that's right, and I think that is really going to be the model. I mean, just the question. I mean, I think really, I don't know. For this is for me. I mean, for me, the only question is, oh, okay, what form and how long will this kind of like organizing kind of against this take?
Yeah.
And and you see it last week again. I didn't mention this also in the show notes. You had a great photo essay on last weekend's protests too, as well, like the second round of the Hands Up protest in Doylestown. Excellent photo essay in the Beacon. Um, and again, we have another round of this kind of plan for May 1st. And I think that, slowly people are starting to think about, well, what do we do this? I thought was really pleased. I got an email from, the Bernie Sanders campaign looking to support people and train people in local elections, right? Basically another round of assistance for folks that are looking, how do I run? How do I get connected up with the people that are going to help me run? Which is right exactly where, I think
Yeah.
the energy needs to be.
Well, and the DNC just had a big meeting yesterday, the day before. I don't know. I saw the emails come through the press releases. I don't know if it's been covered anywhere, but they're putting like a huge amount of money in state Democratic parties for on the ground organizing. Something like 17.5 a month. It's
It's pretty good.
they've never put as much money in state parties as they just agreed to do. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd really like to see if that money, like, the trick with the Democratic Party is always like, okay, now that you got that money going to put into that, are you going to be allowing the people doing the organizing on the ground to use it in the ways that they know are going to be effective? That's going to be the
right. Well,
trick.
it's the state party,
Yeah,
so
no, I mean, which is better than the DC folks.
yeah, we took it away from the federal level, and now it's at the state parties, and then each of the Republican controlled states are getting extra. They call it the Red State Fund, I think. Um, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because the whole hope, I think, is that if you have it at that level, then it can get distributed to county parties or have better leadership at the state level to be able to focus on, organizing tasks throughout the state.
Right.
So,
Well, good.
yeah.
I think we're going to need all of it that we possibly can. I mean, I know that like Penridge Democrats here too as well got it their first weekend of going out doing door knocking, kind of training new folks for the school board election. I mean, it's been so awesome to see that organization grow from, trying to assemble like, just a working organization to over 2 rounds of school board elections to the point where, okay, no, we're out ahead of the game now.
Yeah.
Gonna start now, even before the primaries, getting out there and starting talking to voters about the importance of the school board elections coming up, and that's impressive, if you ask me.
Yeah, I feel like that's the time now we should just go ahead and talk about the voter guide.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's jump to the voter guide, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff in the Beacon because I do want to
Yeah.
dig into that stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, let's do it right to the voter guide.
Okay, so two of our writers have spent about a month working on, let me tell you how many people are on this list. Have been working on our voter guide. I should have already pulled this up so that I knew. And it is, as I understand it, almost entirely done with
incredible.
all of the info. So I'm going to tell you how long this list is. Oh, I found the end.
We're told it's a very long ballot. I just went to the poll worker training the beginning of the week.
There are 379 names on our list, approximately.
That's wild.
And that doesn't include judges of elections or inspectors of elections. So, because we're trying to cover the whole county. So that's every council race, every school board race, every township supervisor race, every auditor, every tax collector. Yeah.
Yep.
It's hard to find info on these people, but our researchers have done an excellent job. Shout out Caroline and Colin. Excellent job. Now the task turns over to me where I will be inputting 379 candidates into our website. So if it slows down or crashes next week, everyone knows why. Don't tell Cyril. He will be pissed.
Don't worry, nobody's hearing this.
No one's hearing it. It's
I won't
fine.
tell him.
Now we all know it's a big list. So we're gonna see if we can, I upgraded all of our servers, so we should be all right. But hopefully, end of next week, early the following week, we'll have our voter guide ready to go. And I just got the email from the AP because we have this wonderful, pilot program with them. And we got all the visualizations back, even for the primaries.
Are you serious? For the primaries
Seriously,
too? Oh my God,
for the primaries.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Yes.
That is crazy cool.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So
what does that mean? It means everybody on election night, right? Even in the primaries, you just kind of have that Bucks County Beacon website up and you can track your election results right there. That's freaking amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I haven't dug into the AP thing yet. There's like a studio and I have to build all the little things. That'll happen after we get everyone's information in.
You're going to do that little button at the top again too, as well, for the voter guide and all that. Great.
Yep, I'm gonna do that again. Yeah, so hopefully I can do all the same type of visualizations. It said Pennsylvania primary, and I was like, yes. Hopefully it's not just the higher level ones. But I don't know. We'll find out. What we get, what we get, and it'll be better than downloading a PDF from the Bucks County Bureau of Elections, I
Yeah.
think.
Yep. 'Cause then,
So
yeah.
yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Please, everyone, stay tuned. In conjunction with the voter guide, we will be trying to roll out some kind of fund drive. Because, geez, did I spend some money that I don't even know how much I spent yet to get this voter guide done. So, pony up, people. Let's go.
Let's go. BucksCountyBeacon.com. Support the beacon button right there. I actually
Yeah,
practice that now. Support the
I
beacon
know
button.
you
Try to
practice
say
it.
it because it's difficult.
Yeah, I feel like you're a pro at that.
Yeah, it's actually starting to be fun, right? I want to have
Yeah.
I have these kind of like these thoughts about, I'm going to sample that at some point, and there's going to
Yeah.
be a track underneath that.
Yeah.
Support the beacon
Support the
button.
beacon.
Support the beacon button. Support the beacon button.
That can be our fun drive.
There you
Oh
go.
my God, let's go.
We're calling
I'm
it a fun drive. How about that?
extra fun spring fun drive.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, no, good stuff. I mean, that's just amazing that you're going to have like a voter guide all set to go ahead of this. And again, number one complaint I can tell you just from folks who are trying to get out there in primaries, especially in years of municipal elections, is like how to find out information about the candidates. It's one of these weird facts of political life. It's often hardest to find out information about people that are running for office closest to you. So it's just weird.
Yeah. And trust me, we have a system in our spreadsheet: green, yellow, red. Green is we found the information, we know it's correct. Yellow is we found some information, we need to figure it out. And then red is there is literally nothing out there. And those red lines do exist on there. They do. There's some
that's good to know too, though, right? I mean, it's like even for like prospective voters, it's like, okay, instead of having to try to waste half an hour, 45 minutes of your time trying to find this stuff, knowing like, look, there's not a whole lot out there about this, right? If you want to go look, that's great, but maybe you'll find a Facebook page, maybe, and maybe you have like, I'm running for office, and that's it. So.
If that, like, I mean, most of our information has come from Facebook or LinkedIn. That's where we're finding most people. Some of them are like campaign websites and stuff like that. Some of them, it's like, where do they work? Is this the right person?
Right.
I'm just glad I'm not on that ballot because they would have a hard time finding me because my name's Emily Smith. So,
yeah, there you go.
How would you verify?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you only have one job.
I know. Well, that's the thing. I'm actually really easy to find on the internet.
Well, that's actually a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
Knowing that it's me on the ballot is the hard part.
It's different, right? Yeah, exactly. Right.
Except that I had a website when I ran, because everyone should have an online presence that says, hey, guess what I'm running? For all you running for anything out there, put it somewhere.
Well, I can't totally. And I'd say
I'm running. Here's my email address.
And yeah, very basic stuff, right? I mean, here's the email. Here's your email address. Here's like this is who I am. This is what I'm running for. Here's contact information if you have any questions, and maybe kind of a couple statements on there like about who you are. Right. That would be that alone would be awesome, right?
Yes.
And I say that as somebody who does not have that, and I'm running for judge of elections, but there's no one else running, and there's like, right. And it's like there's no one even running on the Republican side for judge of elections. At this point,
and that, sir, is why we are not covering inspectors of elections or judges of elections. So if you're looking for that information, go find your neighbors.
Yes,
they're your neighbors.
And this is just other voter information for people. Every year before the elections, there's they have a poll worker training. I go every year because there's always like little things that change or problems they found from the previous year, just like minor stuff here. And one of the things that came out this time was that there's actually in Bucks County, there's still several judge of elections things where there's nobody running. and there's several like inspectors of elections.
A lot.
Nobody's running. They told us be prepared. There's going to be a lot of write-ins this time,
Yeah.
which is going to make the night very long.
Delays
And it's
everything.
going to delay everything in terms of counting, which they're really freaked out about because of the new, like, you need a quicker turnaround now for what, like when the results come back. But
Yeah.
they said, look, anybody out there, you're interested, I know it's late in the game, but you're still interested in running for one of these offices, to contact the Bucks County Board of Elections. They'll let you know where the vacancies are, and they'll let you know if you're in that, you could run for that. Because like judge elections, you got to be in your precinct and things like that. But
Yeah. Yeah, when I initially pulled the list from the Board of Elections, there was massive amounts that had no one running for inspector or judge of elections.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's paid, people. It's paid.
Yeah. I mean, you're not getting rich off it, I'll tell you that.
No.
But it's like, and I understand, like it is a commitment. You're there from, if you're a judge of elections, you're a minority or majority inspector of elections, you're going to be there from, 6 o'clock in the morning to like 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. I mean, primary elections are usually not that late. I mean, to be honest with you, but if you're going to run for one of those offices, you're required to be there the whole day. Right. And that's hard. I get it, for a lot of people deal with work. I mean, I'm very happy this year that there's that it's actually on May 20th. I know that kind of sucks for Pennsylvania as a whole, but I get like 2 personal days a year, and I would one of those because something always comes up where I have to burn one of those for some random thing. And then for the election, that's one of the personal days. And then I burn one, and then I have to just basically take up, I get my pay docked for one day in order to do that, because we have no provision in a public university to grant people the ability to go work for their civic duty. But whatever, not at all upset about that.
BS.
Yeah, it should be in our union contract, and I'm going to push for that next time, because it's like, it's just really discouraging to me. But anyways, it's that's it. But it is awesome work. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's the kind of thing, especially it will help. At least in my case, I'll say this. I know some other people have had some more difficulties in other areas, but in my case, it just puts my faith back into people, right? And even though there's lots of crazy stuff that will happen outside of it, when you're in there, all those people that are there, they're there to vote. Everybody who works at my polling place, their goal doesn't matter their political party. The goal is to help people get to vote, and to create an environment that it's kind of celebrating voting and democracy. And that's awesome. Give stickers to kids is like all that stuff is great. So even though a lot of those voters set us on this trajectory to doom, but that's okay. That's because we're still democracy. We'll take it.
For now.
Let's talk about the big. Yeah, right. Let's talk about the big scoop this week.
Yes.
This was huge. I mean, Cyril broke this story for the Beacon. This is about Bucks County Sheriff Fred Herron's application to participate in ICE's kind of like, I call it like the minion troops, right? Basically to deputizing local law enforcement to be able to go out and just like stop people on the streets, question their immigration status, pull them out of jobs if there's been complaints against them, and basically, have an immigration enforcement happen at the local level. Which is problematic at a whole bunch of levels. But I know Cyril was like, I mean, it was. I remember he texted me about this stuff, and he's like, "You're not, he's like, you're not tomorrow. Be prepared for like, when it launches, so you can help get this stuff out, because it was a big story." So, your take on all this, Emily?
Cyril texted me the night before the story came out. I was helping him look for some information online, and he was in a race to beat everyone else because the Courier had an inkling about it. Who knows who told them, because this is not like you have to know about it and then go search for it. It's not the easiest thing to figure out, but now that I know, God, I'm scared for our country. So as a little history, Sheriff Joe I don't. So I used to live in
Arpaio,
Arizona. Yeah,
Joe
Sheriff Joe
Arpaio.
Arpaio, Maricopa County Sheriff, back in the mid aughts. He built tent cities where it's 120 during the day, and he put people in there to be in work camps instead of being housed in air conditioned cells. But he was the last time they tried to use 287G.
Mhm.
So his sheriff's department was also doing this same thing, acting as ICE agents in this same way, and that obviously backfired, and they canceled the program, and now it's here. And when I went through the list of who was already doing this, E-Town, um, Franklin County, like, oh, Franklin County, shocker. If people don't know, that's where Doug Mastriano is from.
Yep.
Yep. Shocker. But then, like, literally, it seems like every law enforcement agency in the state of Florida has applied for this or has already gotten it. It's all over the country.
Yeah.
So ICE doesn't have enough staff for the craziness they're trying to do. So they're like, don't worry, we'll just use local law enforcement and deputize them. But, the problem is they have their job, right? Local law enforcement has their job already. And then we're giving them the opportunity to just, I mean, it says stop and frisk to me, like, racial profiling, like all of the things. When there's already things in place for if they're in prison or jail and they're illegal, there's already an opportunity for that. That's like a different part of this model.
Mhm.
They could already do that. Why you need to deputize cops on the street to be ICE agents is beyond me. And then what aren't they doing because they're doing that? Because they want to do that. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, and I look at it like this. So, like, just for people. I mean, look, if you haven't read the article yet, please get out there and just check out this article for the Beacon. And so those three models, right? What Emily was just talking about, the jail enforcement model, right? So if somebody is arrested, they're already there. You can kind of look into their immigration status, and then therefore kind of pass that on to ICE, right? There's another one, a warrant service officer, right, where you can train, certify, and authorize state and local enforcement officers to serve and execute administrative warrants on aliens in their agency's jail, right? But that means they're already in the jail,
Right.
right? And so that's like facilitating, greasing the wheels of that process, right? As
Yeah.
both administrative here. The task force model, which is this third one, right? I'll just read this here. Serves as a force multiplier for law enforcement agencies to enforce limited immigration authority with ICE oversight during their routine police duties. That means if you see people, like, for example, that there's, say, day laborers, right? We're going to show up at
Mm,
particular places that get hired to, whether it's construction work, whether it's farm work, whether it's
Home
like this.
Depot. Yeah. Wherever.
And right now, if that police officer says, like, hey, you know what, I bet you some of those are undocumented
Right.
workers, now, like, they can just go over to them, papers please, right? And if they don't have documents on them, regardless what, they can just be arrested right on the spot.
Yeah.
Right. This is like the county version of what we're seeing on the national news about a kind of, these plainclothes folks that are going up and
Right.
abducting people off the streets. This is now taking our local law enforcement and saying that now you're going to go do that stuff.
It's like the Matrix.
Yep.
Agent Smith, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's there, he's an agent, but then he can pop into any regular person and then just be like being the agent that way, and then they can surround him in the whole. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean, this is this is disturbing. And if you think about it, not only is, like, to your point there of saying, not what are they not doing, right? Because he said in the story, right, 30 people, right, 30
Yeah.
people of the deputies in the sheriff's office are already eager to do this. He said the target is 12, right, initially, but now you have 30 people stepping over each other to try to be able the ones who are going to enforce it. Guess what kind of people though they are,
Yeah.
right? They're the
I know.
ones who are eager to go grab folks,
Yeah.
right?
I know.
And then, so not only does it, will they be doing that as opposed to other things, right? The relationship that builds with the community is one. Now you're basically completely breaking down walls of trust between communities.
Yeah.
And if I, if you're kind of like Hispanic, Latino in this community, even if you're here, you're a legal immigrant, you know what's going on in the news,
Right.
and you know that these folks are grabbing people off the street and they're bringing them in. Guess what you're not going to do? You're not going to report small crimes. You're not going to do things that are going to assist the police in your neighborhood because you're worried about these knock-on effects that they might go and start kind of like grabbing random neighbors of yours and bringing them in. Right? I mean, that is not the
Yeah.
relationship you want to have with local law enforcement.
And then I have questions about the money too. Like this doesn't seem to say that at all. So the question is, are they doing it in the course of their regular sheriff duties and just getting paid their regular pay and not getting any federal funding to be ICE agents? Or are they? That's the part that I haven't looked into enough yet, but it's a curiosity to me because, you know, the amount of money that Trump is trying to move from
Yep.
federal to state to local, it's one of those things where I'm like, well, okay, so he's saving money on the federal level by deputizing local law enforcement, but then taxpayers are then paying to get extra policing. I don't, are they going to do overtime? Like, I'm so confused as to how this works.
It's going to be really interesting. I mean, I was thinking along very similar lines on this. I'm thinking, where's this money? Like, how is this going to happen? Because I've got to believe it's going to be shady in some form or another, right?
Yeah.
So let's take us back to a moment when our dear leader Chuck Schumer in the Senate decided that it was going to be a great idea to go ahead and support the continuing resolution, even though it was a new budget, and just basically sit back and wait, because of all, you don't want to give them the reason to be mad at us. So we're going to go ahead and do this. One of the things that Chuck Schumer refused to acknowledge or deal with was that what was in that quote unquote continuing resolution, it wasn't just a continuing resolution. It had new forms of new budget mechanisms in there. One of the things is it made it easier for the Trump administration to move money around between federal agencies, right?
Yeah.
And if you are through DOGE, you're just literally shutting down federal agencies. Right. And now suddenly there's this money that was supposed to go for these projects, was supposed to go for these things.
Right.
And now that's sloshing around. And theoretically, don't know if this is happening, right? Want to be clear about that. But theoretically, what they could do, say, well, look, we're not using this money in the Department of Education anymore.
Send it to DHS. Yeah.
So let's send it to DHS because they seem to need some help over there.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they said what's the guy's name? Tom something, the ICE guy.
The guy, ice, that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're gonna come in. We're gonna do it. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
I remember seeing an interview with him like prior to Trump getting elected. And he was like, "Yeah, we're definitely gonna need more money because it's gonna cost a lot of money because we definitely don't have enough people and blah blah blah." Right?
Yep.
Here we are.
Exactly.
And there's something going on, and I don't know what it is yet, right? Like, we got the part of they're deputizing all the local law enforcement to be their army.
Yep.
To deport people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, we're going to, and this is the kind of thing, right? We will eventually find out how this is going to happen. But I'll tell you, from anybody who's does this work long enough, you can smell this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, literally.
Yeah. And so last weekend there's two things here. Last weekend I was in Arizona. I have land there, and it's not in a blue part of the state. It's very red there. I keep my mouth shut. They don't know who I am there. I just sit in the desert. It's fine. But two things. I was at the gas station, and you run into the locals at the gas station, and the one guy
Yeah.
was buying something from the cashier, and they were talking about illegals. And I don't know if anyone knows, but Arizona is a border state, and there's the population is highly Hispanic already,
Right.
whether or not they're legal. Right? That's
Yep.
just the case.
Because it
And-
used to be Mexico.
Right, because it was Mexico. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. And the one guy says to the other guy, "Yeah, I'm really surprised they haven't arrested anyone yet. Like, what are they doing? Where are the arrests? Where are the deportations from here?" I was like dying. I was like, could not contain myself.
That's incredible.
I know. It was so crazy. And then what was the other
Where's
thing?
our deportation bus?
Right. Why aren't they
Why aren't
deporting
we on the
anyone?
news?
Yeah. I know. There was something else I was going to say, though. I can't remember. I don't know. But that was funny. So,
Oh, God.
whatever I know what it was.
Yeah.
I was flying. It was 5.5 hours of this one of the scarier flights I've ever been on the way out there.
Did you do this in mythical creature form, or was this a normal standard transportation?
Regular commercial.
Regular
airline.
commercial. Okay, just checking. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish it was mythical creatures. I
Yeah,
might have
me
felt a
too.
little bit safer. We had turbulence. It was very windy across the country last week, and it was turbulent. And I don't like flying.
Mhm.
But I watched a documentary, which I think it's like a series. I think there's more coming out. And it is like the newest from Alex Gibney. It's called The Dark Money Game.
Hmm.
Highly, highly recommend.
No, I'm writing
I've
that down right
spent
now.
a lot of time since being a part of the Beacon doing research on dark money because I find it fascinating.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's on, looks like HBO.
Okay.
There's 2 episodes, and it is fascinating. And it's like all the things that we know, but we don't actually know. And like sting operations on like politicians that were working with energy companies who were like had bottomless pits because of super PACs. Yeah, fascinating. Highly recommend. Because we're always following the money. So that was what I was trying to say.
No, 100%. And I think that is Jane Mayer in? Is she interviewed as part of the documentary at all, by any chance? She's a New Yorker reporter.
Maybe.
I'm just out of curiosity. She wrote this book called Dark Money back in, I was just looking for that, back in 2016. And Hidden History of Billionaires Behind the Rise of the Radical Right. It's something we read in a class, what class I was teaching at the time, when we were looking at kind of modes of research and all this other kinds of stuff. And her work was at that point just like broke ground.
Yes.
For the report
she
that
is
she was
part of it.
Yeah, I would imagine her work has been absolutely outstanding, and I learned more from like Jane Mayer's reporting, and then series of folks that were started. I think there were people that were doing it already. We're trying to track this stuff already. Like I remember, the whole kind of like American Legislative Exchange Council stuff that was going on after the Tea Party midterm victories in 2010. In 2011, you had all sorts of great reporting that was coming out, tracking that kind of money, and putting that all together and kind of being the track. It's just been, literally, it's better than any, I don't know, like suspense novel, political that you can do, because it's incredible. And once you start realizing that the more that you read, the more you find out about it, the more you realize that you were talking about a handful of people that are massively responsible for the bulk of the money that is sloshing around out there. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, so highly recommend that series on HBO. Jane Maris, one of the executive producers.
Oh, well, that totally makes
Yeah,
sense. It
yeah,
totally makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, she's
So,
awesome.
yeah, it was really good. But yeah, dark money, man. Where is the money? Like that's always the thing, and that's how I feel about this whole Sheriff Ice situation. I'm wondering about the money.
Well, because I think of the money the other way I
I'm
was thinking
worried
about.
about the people.
No. But it's those things are related, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the point, right? Because that doesn't happen without the funding behind it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then how does the money get to those people? What I started thinking about, even before I was thinking, well, where's the money coming from the federal government? I'm like, oh, he's up for election this year.
Yeah.
So my guess, where I immediately went, is like, there's pockets of money out there that can go to his campaign
Oh yeah.
that will never be traceable, right?
Yeah.
On because of Stark money and stuff like this. So in my mind is like, oh, wait a minute. There's a big pushback that's happening kind of nationally to what Trump is doing to immigration stuff, but they're highly invested in this kind of racist attack on kind of immigrants in the country or anyone who looks
Yeah.
like an immigrant,
Yeah.
right? It's a white nationalist kind of agenda. So this guy maybe is getting aboard a money train, basically realizing, hey, I can get me some of that, right? Yes, I could help my officers, like by getting this additional funding and then plugging into this whole other dynamic. But my guess is there's going to be money funding into people who are going along with this.
Yeah. 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 You have to watch this documentary because it's like the one is like all about the Ohio State House. And how corrupt it was, and it was like an energy company was funding the whole thing, and it was like the speaker of the house, but it went deep into how they funneled the money through PACs and super PACs, and what is totally legal versus where their coordination was actually the only thing that they could potentially get arrested for. But guess what, all of it got found out, and the same guy got reelected.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
It's
Well, now that you say that about the Ohio thing, now I know what my stepfather was talking about over Easter, right? At one point he tells me you've got to watch this thing, and he said I think it's on Netflix and it's called something else. I'm like, and I couldn't find what he was talking about, but this is exactly it. This
this
is what
is
he
it.
must have looked at.
Yeah.
I prefer that over the kind of late night radio post Art Bell conspiracy theory radio that he also listens to. But so I'm glad he found that.
Yeah.
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 Well, crazy. I do want to give a shout out to some of the other stuff too, as well, that
Yeah.
was reported on the Beacon. What Once again, and Emily's talked about this before in previous shows, is like being part of the AP and having access to some of these stories. You could see that kind of evidence right there in the Beacon this past week. I mean, we've got this story about the U.S. Justice Department dropping a lawsuit against Hazelton. I mean, that's a kind of part of AP reporting. I mean, and it's like really targeted something. I didn't see that come up on any other reporting that was out there. And
Yeah.
there's a long history. I forget the guy's name. You remember the guy who's the mayor up there, and then I'm just forgetting the guy's name.
I don't remember.
He's come up like 4 times in my brain of the past year. I keep on meaning, or that past week, I keep on meaning to look it up. But like that was a flashpoint, right? Early like kind of anti-immigrant battles that were Lou Barletta. That was the guy's name.
Oh,
Lou Barletta.
Lou.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he's a state senator, no?
yeah. Now he is,
Yeah.
but he was the mayor of Hazleton, and he was the one
Don't tell
who
anyone I did graphic design work for that guy.
well, you just did. You told the world, Emily. Just now. Oh God.
I was a gun for hire.
Yeah.
I
No. No.
never met
No.
the guy. I never met the guy.
No. It's
Yeah.
like, but
I know who he
but
is.
that's the Hazleton, right? That was the one that
Mm,
there was. I mean, I remember following that reporting was just fascinating because like all these folks were driven out of their. I mean, they left, right?
mhm,
Because there's a bunch of farms that are all up there, and folks,
mhm.
there's all this kind of like migrant labor that had come in, but people that had settled in there, and because that he was threatening to come and evict people and kind of do all this stuff, they were just going to go out. They were just going to go out and just start evicting people if they suspected that they were Oh, Amy says no judgment. Emily, there you go.
Thank you. Mhm.
But I mean, and so that was, I saw that come up like on the Beacon. It's like, well, this, here you go. I mean, this is kind of, you're seeing this kind of trends. And then the second part was, the other one was in there too as well. What was it? About the federal judge blocking the Trump administration banning diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff was phenomenal. Melissa Rizzo's reporting on
Melinda.
the elimination of the Head Start program. I mean,
Hmm.
one, this is something, can flag stuff that came off the AP, but that was like on the ground reporting. That was, seeing
Yeah.
what's going to be the implication of this.
That's the whole like localize it thing, which is really cool that they do that because they have like the general thing and then tell you like, oh, just go. You only have to write a couple of paragraphs to make it local because you just have to go interview someone and you don't have to come up with the beginning part of the story. It's all great,
Yeah.
and it just adds so much breadth and depth to our reporting.
Well, and I just think like Melissa Rizzo's piece on that too as well, because you can see, like, because you've got that part, right, that background, right, where you can, okay, here's the kind of the overall stuff on the Head Start stuff in her story, right, saying, okay, this is administered here now, Bucks County Intermediate Unit, because you say Head Start and people are thinking of these federal programs, they might not know exactly what that is, but when they hear the Intermediate Unit,
Yeah.
suddenly they're like, whoa, like
Yeah.
like my kid gets accommodations because of like ADHD, or my kid
Mhm.
because of hearing impairment gets kind of services through there. And suddenly you're talking about people and interact with on a daily basis.
My mom worked for Head Start when I was little.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Head Start's a great program.
Yeah, my mom too. I mean, I remember when when my parents got divorced when I was really young. That was one of the places that she worked for a time. I spent time there, right? Because they
Yeah.
actually allowed us, like my sister was, has got a mental disability, and then there was me, and they let us come there too as well, right? 'Cause we had, we were on food stamps, we were kind of like, in need of services, and my mom couldn't afford to find some place to, watch us during the day. So, we were there. I mean, I remember having these like memories of it as young as I was. And became one of these things. And then all through my life, I learned about Head Start and how important it was, right? Because like with that experience,
Yeah.
it's so critical. And they're
Yeah.
just talking about throwing it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, just great stuff.
Yeah.
So I do also want to plug to, please, people, go check out that interview on the Signal this past week with Ben Price. I learned so much just in terms of editing that interview that Cyril did. I learned so much from him that I didn't know. I mean, like I said, I already talked about the Tamaqua thing. I mean, I had no
Yeah.
idea that was the case. And CellDef is based right outside Harrisburg, or in Harrisburg, I'm not sure, but right around there. They also learned that Pittsburgh became the largest, like, or the first major city, right, to also adopt a rights for nature ordinance as part of its part of the city. I mean, I was like, there's all this really cool stuff going on, and to see, and I remembered back, I interviewed, I'm going to forget the guy's name, Todd. I want to say is Cunningham's last name, but it's not right. But years ago, like probably about 3-4 years ago, I look back on this. I interviewed this other guy from CellDef too as well, that was the first I learned about kind of the rights of nature stuff. And to see this kind of Ben Price walk through the legal strategy and talk about what was going on was just a really fascinating interview. So go check that out, share that one around. It's just I was telling my students about it, right? Because just about local history, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is right up the street, literally, and I have like 4 students in one of my classes who are from Tamaqua or just outside Tamaqua. So
Yeah.
it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I think all of the interviews that Cyril does on the Signal are fascinating because I like how deep divey they are,
Yeah,
like I think that's what makes them so cool because you can, really dig in with someone who literally he can ask them a question and whoever the person is he's interviewing has like immense knowledge
yep,
of the topic,
yep.
you know.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not the kind of thing, if you see like on a regular like news show or something, they might get, like 5 minutes or 8 minutes, right, to be able
Yeah.
to, but here you have, this folks talk. And there are times where, like, Cyril's like, I'm like, did I miss Cyril coming in or something? Because like the person is just kind of unpacking kind of what they're doing in a particular
Mhm.
project or their work, and it is just great stuff. So
Yeah.
go kind of, subscribe to the Signal wherever you get your podcast. You can listen right online. You can go to the buckscountybeacon.com and you can click on, the Signal right there to check it out. But it just great stuff. Well, Emily, you got anything else for the good of the order? Before
I have one other thing.
Go for it.
I found out last week that we are allowed to go live on TikTok.
Oh.
So next week, if me and Kevin are doing this next week, my schedule's clear. Is your schedule clear?
My schedule, I'm on. I'm here.
Let's go.
Yep.
I hope to integrate this into TikTok Live next week.
That's awesome.
Which we can earn all sorts of TikTok coins and rewards and stuff, and maybe money.
Yeah. So here's the charge for everybody then, right? Everyone with a TikTok account, next Friday, look, I don't want to tell you don't go to the YouTube page, right?
No,
but
definitely do go to the YouTube page because we are making headway.
Exactly.
On there.
Go to the YouTube page, have it up. Even if you want to silence it on the YouTube page.
Open both.
Yes, exactly. If you have like a computer.
I'm looking at you.
Exactly. There you go. You have a computer and a phone, right? So
right.
Get a computer, get your YouTube up and running, right? You can even kind of like mute it on there.
Yeah.
Like put a couple comments in, make sure you like the episodes. I can't even tell you how important it is. Like the episode, share it out there, hit that notification bell so you'll know every time we go live. And then also have that kind of your TikTok up so that you can kind of see what it has on the live stream. That's not only is that good for just the views part of it, what Emily's just talking about, but also you can let us know what the experience is like, right?
Yeah.
So if we run into any glitches or that kind of stuff, that's phenomenal for people to give us that feedback.
It's going to be alpha testing, not even beta testing.
Yeah, we're just going to go right to launch. That's how that's my world. That's like we're going right to launch, and we're going to work with this through with our community.
We like to iterate.
Exactly.
So we'll be starting next week on TikTok, hopefully, and then hopefully it'll work.
Yep.
If it doesn't, we'll still be on YouTube.
Yeah, so you can let us know on YouTube that the TikTok is not working. How's that? Fantastic. Oh, awesome. Great. Well, I'm gonna have to get Cringy the Ram in on this one too. Oh Cringy the Ram. Yes. Cringy's doing great work. So
yes, Cringy is.
The other thing I want to do, I'll give a little plug for this. I'll talk about this again next week, though. But for a heads up, everybody, on May the 10th, Upper Bucks United, right? That's the new kind of Indivisible chapter. We organized the Quakertown protest. We're going to have a launch party that's in Quakertown. We've got like 50 plus people coming. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to have a video and audio set up there for people to come tell their stories, like, why you here, why you get involved, like what you're interested in. So we got compiling some of that stuff. There's going to be stuff for kids there. And then we're gonna have working groups, right? So it's a potluck, so people come get food, all that stuff. We're bringing in donations, right, so that we can give to local shelters, and then have some working groups where we start kind of thinking about, okay, how do we continue to organize across Upper Bucks County? But I'll send more information out that I'll kind of mention again when it gets closer to the date. But just something to put on your calendar, May the 10th. I think 5 p.m. is when it starts. So
awesome,
cool. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Looks like it's going to be a partially good weekend. I know it's going to rain tomorrow, so I'm going to try to get some gardening done today. Let that water really seep in the ground and kind of ripen it up for the year. Really looking forward to get my hands in the dirt, so I'm very happy about that. Got any big plans for the weekend, Emily?
I am also getting my hands in the dirt.
Yes. It's the best thing.
That is what I am doing. That's my big plan. Yeah. There's this ongoing saga with a house, and I have a lot. It's 2 acres of yard work to do, and I have a community garden plot that I haven't even looked at yet, and I have like 10 packs of seeds that I'm just going to go sprinkle over them.
There you go.
And hope for the best.
Be free. Be free.
Apparently there's a community garden Nazi there. And by Nazi, I just mean he's very dedicated to his and everyone else's gardens there.
Gotcha.
So everyone told me to be forewarned. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. I asked for the community garden spot on the end. I'm not bothering anyone. If it goes to weed.
There you go. It's for the bees. You're helping pollination if that goes to weed.
Yes.
That's what happens. Yep.
My husband said he needs to mow after work today because our grass is long. And I said, no mow May. And he goes, "It's April."
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, "Yeah, but no mow May." He's like, "But it's April." And I'm like, "Yeah, you don't mow in April or May." And he was like, "No way. Could never make it." I was like, "For the pollinators."
You're like got your fists in the air.
We have a Bee City USA. We are a Bee City USA and a Bird City USA.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a Tree City USA here where we are. So we're very into the pollinators and protecting the environment. And yeah, so I let my weeds grow.
There you go. That's why I don't cut down my garden and all that kind of stuff over the winter. Kind of like, yep, let it stay there. You let it stay well into it gets warm enough so that all those little critters that are in those hollow stems in there get to kind of get out and kind of in a very, very small way, helping kind of remake the world like one little garden at a time, right? So
one other thing.
Yeah, please.
Shout out to all the firefighters that are fighting these wildfires in Pennsylvania.
Holy crap, yeah.
Oh, our sky is not
You're
a good
seeing
color
it?
here. We have so there's the Jim Thorpe one.
Yep.
Right? That's probably one you're seeing. We have one in the Michaud State Forest by Pine Grove Furnace State Park.
I didn't even see that one.
It's over 200 acres now.
Get out of here.
Oh, it's big. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, the winds have been so bad too as well. That just kind of like driving it. Wow.
Yeah. I'm hoping that this rain tamps down these fires because we shouldn't be having these giant wildfires in Pennsylvania.
Welcome to the future, everybody. Yeah. I like there's I want to say this is from I think it's William Gibson said this, right? Sci-fi author. He says, he said something like the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed.
Yeah.
And that was like always sticks with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you go. Well, let's fingers crossed that the rain puts out some of the fires. If you can get out there, help the pollinators, help the garden, get your fingers in the dirt. And we'll keep on working. Yeah. We'll be right back here next week with our A-tested, B-tested TikTok launch. How's that?
Alpha test.
We're calling it the Go Live. And then we're good for that.
Alpha test, go live.
Yeah, go. All right, there we go. Well, listen, everybody, I hope you have an awesome weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share it out to all your friends. Do go over and check out the articles at the Beacon. And, share that one around about the Sheriff, Bucks County Sheriff. It's really fantastic. You get in touch. You see that people are not crediting the Bucks County Beacon for that story.
Tom Sofield did credit us.
What's that?
Tom Sofield from Levittown Now did credit us.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if you have folks, you're seeing it, not listening, just send them a nice note. Don't be mad about it. You don't need to be mean about it. Just say, look, thank you for reporting. This is awesome that you're paying attention to it. Just bit of information. You mentioned X is where this story broke, but it was actually broken right in our own backyard of the Bucks County Beacon. And this is why we need local news. This is why we need to kind of support the Beacon. And this is my opportunity to plug for you one more time, right? Head on over to the buckscountybeacon.com. You hit that support the Beacon button. You can become a supporter, like literally for $1 a month, right? For everybody who reads the Beacon, put in $1 a month. This would make
pay all our bills.
It would be incredible, right? But become a regular member for $5 a month. You can do a yearly subscription for $50, like minimum $50 a year, right? Or you can even drop a one-time donation, right, to help keep this sustainable, help keep this reporter going, and so that we can continue to see the kind of breaking news that we've seen this week, and continually to see this outstanding work by all the reporters, for everyone from Emily's work on the website, from kind of people working on social media, for people working on the books. Everything that makes this happen is because in part of you, right? So head on over buckscountybeacon.com, hit that support the Beacon button. I'll become a supporter today. Emily, wish you an awesome weekend, and wish everybody out there an awesome weekend too as well.
You too.
All right, and we are out of here, folks. Here we are. If my music is going to play, which it does not seem to want to play for some reason. Look at this. Did the music play at the beginning of the show? There it is. It did not.
But now it's freaking.
Yeah, I heard it, but then this time I didn't even hear it. Anyways, it's always something, everybody. It's always something. All right, we're out of here, everybody. Have an awesome weekend.